Man, I didn't know we were going to have a walkout song. I would ask for some like ACDC or Led Zeppelin or something like that. But really appreciative of being here today. I do have to offer this. My congratulations to Coach Corbin for his induction into the ABCA Hall of Fame. Great friend, great mentor. Just really happy for him and very, very proud of him. I know that we've got a lot of different disciplines in here in this group. Some of you guys love hitting, some of you guys love pitching, and probably even to further that a little bit is just the idea of within those disciplines, you have your favorite parts. You're a pitching guy, you love the delivery. You're a hitting guy, you love the tools or the training part of hitting. And so, that's fine. I think that all of those things are important, but I think really what we're looking for is probably in this next slide. This may end up being sort of the culmination of all of those things. That's the fans.
I've seen this moment in my dreams. I'll make a pact with you. With the gods as our witnesses. Let us pledge that the winner will allow the loser all the proper funeral rituals.
There are no pacts between lions and men. Now you know who you're fighting.
I thought it was you I was fighting yesterday. And I wish it had been you. But I gave the dead boy the honor he deserved.
You gave him the honor of your sword. You won't have eyes tonight. You won't have ears or a tongue. You will wander the underworld blind, deaf, and dumb, and all the dead will know. This is Hector. The fool who thought he killed Achilles.
It's the at-bat, right? All the things that we do in the game, whether it's in practice, whether it's hitting or pitching, it's about this dance between the hitter and the pitcher. It's training in the weight room. It's the things that we do on the practice field. It all boils down to these moments. And there's about 200 of them in every game, 100 for you and 100 for me, 100 on both sides of the ball. And we never really know when that moment's going to happen, when it decides the game. It could be the first pitch. It could be sometime in the fourth inning. It could be the last pitch of the game. Whenever it is, that's sort of the root of the game. And that's what we're always training for. We're training for those moments, those 200 times a game. Being a pitching coach, I gotta add this slide. If you've ever studied warfare, you'd learn that whomever strikes first outnumbers their opponent 9-1 and holds an elevated position of attack has a distinct advantage over his enemy. The pitcher certainly does hold a little bit of an advantage. He's holding the ball. He's got 8 dudes behind him that are playing defense for him, and the hitter has to react to whatever he does. But I would say that no matter what side of the ball that you're on, if you have a superior mindset, if you know yourself very well, if you understand who your opponent is, you can flip that script pretty easily and make it 9 hitters versus 1. So basically the goals for the day is to understand those 3 things. It's learning how to compete better, knowing myself better, knowing my opponent, and then being able to do it 2 or 3 times, 200 times per game. And how we're going to do that is basically sort of unravel the layers of those battles, and then try to connect all of these kind of things together. Okay, so let's start with mindset. I think the question always is can you make guys compete better, right? Like as coaches, we have a tendency to say, hey, that guy's not a great competitor. He doesn't compete well enough. He doesn't compete, or he crumbles in tough times. I absolutely 100% think that you can teach mindset. And how do you do that? I think you teach mindset by training thinking. And how do you train thinking? Well, it's the things that you're about every single day, right? It's the things that you stand for. It's the things that you talk about. It is creating that edge for the player just by virtue of being in your program. And I think, is it easy? Absolutely not. But I also think that it's necessary, and maybe the most important thing, it's going to separate us at the end of the day. So this me versus you mindset, and this is what we're trying to create, I think this is what makes the world go round. It's battle of skill and will. If I'm doing my job, if we're in practice in our training, in the weight room, when we're running sprints, when we're doing a bullpen, whatever the case may be, if I'm communicating the way that I want our players to think, the way I want them to act and react, maybe more importantly, I think you can develop this me versus you. But when I'm standing in front of the hitter, really that's the main thing that's on my mind, right? It's me versus you. It's my will versus yours. I'm better than you, and this is my opportunity to do it. I can outlast you. When you strike, I counter. When I strike, I expect to counter. I can stay in the moment better than you. Games are won and lost by guys getting out of the moment, right? So I can stay in the moment better than you. I'm more resilient. I'm more focused. I'm a quick recovery athlete. Quick recovery athlete is nothing more than a guy who can move on from a bad set of circumstances, right? So it is how we're responding. It's how we're thinking, and it's how we're training that thinking. I think this can be learned, and I think it's choice on the way that we approach it. I think this graph probably shows that there is a mindset on every pitch that's thrown in baseball. This is a tree, a count tree. I want to thank Ryan Cienko from catchandthrow.com for this graph. But basically what this shows is that the psychology of the game does indeed happen in between the count, or with the count. As the count starts to favor the hitter, you can see that batting average, isolated power, and then WOBA goes up. You can see when it favors the pitcher, you can see that it goes down. Okay, 52%, and I think this is probably the takeaway for me, is 52% of all counts get to 2 strikes. So if I'm a hitter, I got to be okay with hitting in 2 strikes. I got to have a plan and approach to be able to do that. If I'm a pitcher, if I get to 2 strikes, then I have to know how I got there and then what to do next. Okay? So I think this is a very good indication of that there is a mindset happening on every pitch that's thrown. So it's not just about breathing exercises. It's not just about meditation. All those tools are great. This is a mindset, and it's something that happens, pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch. Okay, so the second part of this is I want our players to know themselves. We all do, right? Like that's our goal as a coach, is helping our players understand themselves better. And in some cases, it's going from who I am right now to who I want to be, right? And we have a lot of different tools that we can use to show them these things. But this is going to be the start of developing a plan or approach. We do have a lot of tools at our disposal. I may have a few more than you just because of where I'm at. But the bottom line is that no matter what you have exposure to, I think that you should never be afraid of it. I think it's there to enhance our jobs. Our job as a coach is to take those tools and then connect the human element with it. I think that's probably the thing that's missing the most in the game right now, is that we have sort of this analytical side, and then we have this this coaching side, and we can't quite connect them together. I think the coaches are afraid that this stuff is taking their job. I think it's actually making your job easier. I think it's proving things for you to be able to explain to your players in a much faster way. I think your return on training time is much better because of this stuff. But what you have to be able to do is take wherever the player is at that moment, and they're all going to be in different spots. They have different experiences. They come from different places. They have different parents. They have different thoughts. And once you get to know them and once you understand who they are, then the next part of that is to take whatever you have here and then be able to use it to your advantage. Okay, so let's start with the pitcher. These are things, layers, I'm going to call them layers, that we use to help our pitchers understand themselves better. What you're going to find is all the way through this presentation is you're going to see that basically whatever's happening for the pitcher is the inverse for the hitter. Whatever's the happening with the hitter, it's the inverse for the pitcher. And that's where that dance comes into play. That's that yin and yang of baseball. So these are our tools. There are plenty of them out there. Use them freely if you'd like to, but this is how we're approaching the way that we're going. First step and the easiest step. Whatever you think is important, make a chart for it. If you don't have access to TrackMan or access to True Media or any of the other stuff that's out there, whatever it might be at your level, there's one really easy way to combat that. Chart anything that you think is important. Anything. No matter what discipline you're in. Okay? The other thing is I'm going to take a ton of notes. I'm going to take a ton of notes. I'm going to take notes that won't matter to me in a month. But there is going to be that one note that I take on this player that's going to help me understand him better and then may help him understand himself better when push comes to shove. Okay? So, whatever it is that you have, you can make charts. Yet they're on the internet. This is something I stole from the internet. I don't even actually know what that chart means. All right, but I'm just saying that using that as an example, I'm taking a chart, whatever's important for me, I'm going to put that into play. I'm going to take my notes, I'm going to keep my journal. I would tell you that journaling for players is probably a good idea too. It's going to help them understand themselves a little bit better as well. Okay, so the next layer for us is we want to look at our players and we want to compare them to Major League average. Now, for you guys, you might have to compare it to your league average, or you might even have to compare it to just your team's average. But in our case, we have a lot of data that suggests, this pitch does this, and it's either above league average or it's below. And we're not really into understanding or trying to figure out, why this guy is below or above. And that might come a little bit later. But at least just at this point and for this layer, we're looking at these averages and saying, okay, what stands out here and what can we maybe make a small adjustment that's going to help this guy perform better? So let's use the four-seam fastball as an example. We see that he's getting a lot of swing and miss. It's above league average. We've seen some of the other TrackMan qualities. It's got play in it. And so compared to his two-seamer, we may use that four-seam as opposed to the two-seam. All right, just a simple change. We may also understand that he's underutilizing a pitch. He's not using his changeup nearly as much as what he should. And so this may show us or indicate that maybe he could do something a little bit different. We can refine that even more and go splits by hand. And I know this is kind of tough to see, maybe, but basically we're taking this a step further, and we're going and comparing league average by hand. So it's the right-handed pitcher versus the left-handed batter, the right-handed pitcher versus the righty, left versus right, and left versus left. Again, it's looking for anything that we can gain an edge with. Okay? Okay, so next layer, bullpen tools, right? This is a Rapsodo unit. There are many like them. You can use Flight Scope, you can use Yakartek, whatever. But this, to me, is a very good tool, and we can use it for two reasons or two purposes. The first and foremost, the easiest one, is if we're after something special. We're after a different feel for a pitch, a different look on a pitch. then we can use this technology to help us understand that better, or we can actually just have it running in the background. Cool part about most of this technology is that it's doing that bullpen chart that I showed you earlier. It's doing it for us. And so, using that to further understand myself more, maybe taking off of what we learned from TrackMan, now we're taking it into the bullpen and we're trying to refine something about the pitcher. We can use a visual tool. This is the driveline edge tool, but just showing that we can change the axis of a pitch, make it look different. Then we're going to go retrain it back in the bullpen, maybe with the Rapsodo unit, and then we're going to take it another step and retrain it or in the game or retest it in the game. Okay, so we've got all these layers, right? We've understood what this guy is in terms of Major League average. We've taken some of the tools that we're going to use in the bullpen to try to help him with some of these things, and now we're going to look sort of at an overall picture of what this guy is. Bob Smith is a generic right-handed pitcher, and what we're going to do is we're going to start to overlay heat maps so that we can see kind of where he visits in the zone and the kind of success or maybe the lack of success that he's having. Okay, what this is going to tell us in the future is, maybe we need to change where he's trying to locate the ball. You guys would be really, it's really interesting to me. When you show this to a player, a lot of times they think that they're throwing the ball in different places. Then you show them this, like, man, I had no idea that I threw the ball there that much. So his intention was different, but where the ball ended up was different than what he thought. So getting back to Bob Smith, right? We're looking for where he frequents the zone. Now, this is all pitches, so you can see that the middle is pretty exposed here, which that would make sense because it's all pitches over the course of a full year. If we boil this down into another pitch, which I'm going to show you in just a second, that might look a little bit different. Okay, then we're going to overlay the heat map on the left, which is the miss percentage. So we know where Bob visits a lot. Okay, and then the second part of it is where does he make hitters swing and miss? Okay, so this is starting to build our plan, and that's the point. We take it a little bit further. Bob Smith, it's just his fastball versus left-handed hitters. So we can do it against lefties, we can do it against righties, and we can do it with all pitches. Okay, we're going to see where he frequents or visits the zone the most often. We can see that he is definitely an out-over guy. He does have some elevation tendencies. That's his pitch against left-handed hitters. We can also see the majority of his swing and miss is in the top row or above. Okay, so again, we're building his plan. Okay, so once we have all of these layers kind of connected together, we start making suggestions. We're just putting pen to paper. And I would tell you that you guys can do this, just as you're sitting there listening to me. You draw 9 boxes, you put a left-handed hitter box, you put a right-handed hitter box, and you say, okay, what is Bob Smith going to do? Okay, so what you're seeing here is basically just the stuff in the red is where he's going to visit with those pitches the most often. So he's going to visit with his 4-seam at the top of the zone because it plays well. We're going to go above the zone for chase. Against that lefty, we're going to cram his hands, and then 2-seams we're going to be down and away. Okay, slider's going to be to the back foot. He can backdoor his slider. And I realize that some of yours may be way more basic than this, and that's fine. Some of mine are way more basic than this too. But just kind of looking at it and say, okay, Bob, if you had to face any generic left-handed hitter right now, how would you attack him? And then we've used all of this information to kind of come up to this point of the spear. Okay, right-handers, same thing. We know his fastball plays up well. We're going 4-seam fastball up in the zone. He can 2-seam away and down. And then he's using his off-speed stuff down and away. He's going to push his 2-seamer up on the hands, move feet with the 2-seamer. Now we have the plan for the hitter. Okay, and then the last layer of this is questions for the pitcher. Again, things that you guys can do as well. Okay, these are going to be the inverse for what the hitter is going to be asking game to game for the pitch that they're going to face. Okay? What pitch can you throw for a strike? What pitches do you have trouble landing in the zone? I need for my pitchers to know how to do that or know what that is. What's the strong side of the plate? Is it glove side or is it arm? Am I an up pitcher or a down pitcher? What's your best pitch? Some guys don't know, honestly. They think it's something else, and then you can show them through some of the tech or some of the numbers of what it is. What's second? What's third? What are you going to throw in doubt? And this one is really, really important for me. I want to be great at what I'm good at. I want our players to be great at what they're good at. I'm going to work on weaknesses for sure, but I know that there's going to be instances in the game where we're not exactly sure what to call. So what's my one pitch when I'm in doubt? Is it my best? Or what's my two pitches or my two go-to places when I'm in doubt? I know I can throw a strike there. I've had good success at that area of the zone or with that pitch, and so that's what I'm going to throw. All right, and then the last three things is knowing or early what I'm throwing with two strikes or late, and then what I'm going to throw when I'm behind in the count. I would tell you that our catchers would also go through this exercise for our pitchers. Now, they're the ones calling the games. I know that some of you guys call pitches for them, and that's fine. But I want catchers to understand what these pitchers are doing and who they are and what they're going to in these different areas. So in spring training, might be a little bit more basic than this, but we're asking our catchers the same exact question. Okay, so now we go to the hitter, and we're peeling back the layers for them and knowing themselves. And again, it's kind of the inverse, right? First things first, we're writing our stuff down. We're creating charts that count for us, right? We may be putting a journal into their hands and telling them to journal for themselves as well. Cage tools, just like the bullpen tools. Understanding how to get a swing, to adjust, doing something with the swing, understanding how the ball reacts off of the bat. These are all things that a cage tool can do. And we can go on and on with the tools. Again, we have to connect with the human, right? So no matter what tool we have, it's being able to connect it with the human, who they are, what they're after, and those sort of things so that we can make good suggestions and so that we can get a quicker return on our training time. Okay, so Jim Jones, we're doing the same thing. Layering Jim Jones, he's a left-handed hitter. And in this case, we're overlaying his exit velocity and his miss percentage. Okay, it can be something different for you. It could just be, basically where he hits the ball hard in your estimation. Okay, his exit velo, you'll see he's a good down and in to up and away hitter out over for most of the pitches, and you see that the majority of his chase is below and some above. And again, this makes sense because it's a sample size over all pitches throughout the whole year in all locations, so this would make sense as this is what would show up. From this, okay, now we reduce it further. Left-handed hitter versus his fastball. Jim Jones, left-handed hitter versus fastball. Okay, notice that exit velo is very good out over. A lot of left-handers are, at least in the big leagues, down and in. He punishes the ball. He doesn't have a whole lot of swing and miss. Inside of the zone where it is, it's generally in the upper quadrant. Okay, so we can take that and start to build his plan off of it. And that's what we do. Right? So the next piece of this is understanding ourselves is I'm going to build a basic plan for a right-handed pitcher and a left-handed pitcher. Right? So for a right-handed pitcher being a left-handed hitter, I'm really good at hitting the ball out over. I'm pretty good at hitting the ball up in the way and down and in. So I'm gonna plan for that. That's gonna be my hot zone. Against lefties, since I'm a left-handed hitter, they're gonna throw the ball away from me a whole lot. So I'm gonna plan for away. And I'm going to be able to mangle that fastball down and in if he gives it to me. Okay, and then the last layer is the questions for the hitter. Okay, do I look fastball and react to off speed? That was kind of how we thought about hitting forever. I think you're seeing more and more guys start to hunt. They're taking educated guesses on the pitches that are coming. We have more information now, so maybe they can't. But I want my hitter to know which type of guy he is. Okay, do I hit with count? Am I an 0-0 swinger? Do I get big looking for the fastball when I'm ahead in the count? When I fall behind, do I take the same approach or do I change? Can I stay stubborn in my zone? What part of the strike zone is my hot zone? We just kind of went over that. Where do I have trouble hitting the ball hard? All right, where do I chase the most at what pitch? And are there more areas than one? So again, looking at it from a game planning standpoint, the inverse of this is the pitcher asking the same questions about the hitter he's going to face. And to me, this is why the dance is so cool. It's we're doing all this stuff, and we're basically planning against one another with the same exact information. I think it's awesome. Okay, so now we get to the battle. And, for us, I don't know how it is for all of you. For us, we have a ton of information that's coming in, and I'm always trying to make things simple, simply because I'm not all that smart. And because of all this information, it's like, man, what do you choose? And so basically what I've come up with are just some really simple questions that I think you can answer, and you can do it in a couple of ways. All right, for pitcher's game planning, we talked about what he's looking for with the hitter, but when does he swing? I want to know when the hitter swings. I want to know if he's a guy who swings early. I want to know if he's swinging a lot at breaking balls or one pitch or the other. But I want to know when he swings, and I want to know what he chases or when he chases. What does he swing at the most? Maybe I have to plan for the idea of this guy is a really, really good fastball hitter. I'm going to feed him a bunch of off speed, and he's going to take that. So early on, I'm not trying to be too fine with the breaking ball. I'm just trying to get it across for a strike because I don't think he's going to swing at it anyway. I want to know basically where his swing path is. That's his damage area, and where does he swing and miss? When and where does he swing and miss? And basically, if I'm going through a game plan for each hitter, these are the questions that I'm asking. These are the questions that I'm having our pitchers ask too. All right, now, you don't have information, fine. Guess what you can do? You can pay attention. And our players don't pay attention well enough anyway, right? They're doing stuff in the dugout, whatever it is. But if I'm a pitcher, I'm paying attention to all 9 guys that are going up against the pitcher that's out there right now. And collectively, if I've got 8 or 9 more pitchers with me, and we're looking for any sort of edge that we can find, any little thing that we think that we can expose, then that's game planning, right? And we can do that. On the other side of the ball, we have hitters that are watching this pitcher. There's only one at a time, and I've got 12 or 13 guys or however many guys that you have out there that are paying attention to find the edge. You have to teach your guys to do that, I think, right? That's that discipline of understanding how to watch the game. So you already seen this slide before, but it was with the pitch on the pitching side of it, right? Hitter's game plan, what can he throw for a strike? What pitch does he have trouble landing? What's his strong side of the plate? Is he an up or down guy? What's his best pitch? What's his second? What's his third? What will he throw when in doubt? All right, so let's talk about that in doubt real quick. All right, so the hitter's planning for what's when in doubt too, sort of that pitch that he knows I'm going to go to. I don't care. As a pitcher, you shouldn't care. As a hitter, you shouldn't care. The bottom line is you still got to hit it. Right? The bottom line is you still got to hit it, and you're not exactly sure if you're going to get it or not. But when you do, you still have to hit it. Baseball is hard. Hitting is hard. Okay, what's he going to throw 0-0? What's he going to throw to get ahead? What's he going to throw with 2 strikes or late for a put away? And what's he going to throw when he's behind? If I can answer the questions here, I have a pretty good idea what this guy is going to do against me. At least I can go in with a plan based on that. I know myself really well. I have my things that I know that I need to do, and then I compete. And that's this sort of what I'm talking about, right? The 3 things is I game plan. I'm trying to know my opponent as well as I can. I know myself really, really well. And then I'm able to free myself up and compete. Right? I trust my approach, I trust my stuff, I trust my mindset, and I basically just get after it. Okay, so now we have the game or the win. Tools, these are just kind of things that I thought of that can help when we're playing the game. First and foremost, paying attention, right? We have to pay attention, looking at, paying attention to find any sort of edge that we can on our opponent. Okay, but a couple of things that we talk about a lot because I think it's underrated. The first thing I want our pitchers to do is I want to draw an imaginary box for the strike zone. Okay, you guys get that on TV because you got it strung up there on whatever station that you're watching, so you have that imaginary strike zone. When I'm standing on the mound competing against this hitter, I'm doing the exact same thing. Okay, I want to know what his top is. I want to know what his bottom is, and probably more important, I want to know how much room I have in, because I'm going to throw it there. I'm going to throw it there a lot. Okay, Anthony Rizzo might not give me as much room in as opposed to another hitter, but I'm at least going to have that eyesight. I'm going to have that visual of what I need to do and what can be in and maybe what can be in off, because I'm going to get a lot of swings there, and I'm going to get a little bit of exit velo where we're going to get some quick, easy outs. Okay, so I'm drawing the box. What's up for Christian Yelich is not going to be the same as up for Alex Bregman. Okay, if I have that visual, I have a better chance of understanding what up is to this certain hitter. I think it's really underrated. I think when we throw pitches, we just kind of assume up is always just up. Our catchers too, right? We want to put the glove at the top or wherever we think that strike zone is, and that's going to be different from guy to guy. We're going to talk about reading foul balls and reading takes. To me, it's again sort of an underrated thing. I think we get tunnel vision. This is the pitch that we're going to throw next. I'm just reading what I see, and I'm going from pitch to basically do that. We're going to talk about lines, triangles, and boxes here in just a minute. But reading foul balls and takes means that I'm in the moment and I'm seeing what I need to see. Most of the time, when a hitter hits a foul ball, right? If it's pull side, obviously he's early. If it's somewhere back behind the screen, he's a little bit late. If it's over the first base dugout, if he's a right-handed hitter, then he's really late. And then if it's the ball that's sort of fading to the opposite side of the field, that's probably a pitch or maybe a pitch that he pulled off on. I want to know that, right? And if I know that, then I can make changes appropriately. 4 options based on the last pitch. The easiest one is another pitch, the next pitch. So if I throw a fastball, I opt for a changeup. Okay, I throw a fastball in, he pulled it foul. Now I'm going to throw a fastball away, it's a ground ball to the shortstop. So it was the same pitch, but I threw it to a different side of the plate. Okay, I can change elevations. I threw a fastball in. Now I want to make him speed up just a little bit, and I want to go fastball up. That's going to speed him up, or at least for him to be on time. So I've made him responsible for different areas, different speeds, different shapes inside the zone. I talked about lines, triangles, and boxes. I throw a pitch, and then I create lines from there. I meant to throw the ball, fastball away. I ended up missing fastball in. Perfect. Hitter has no idea that that's what I intended to do or not do. So where do I throw it next? Do I throw it further up right there? Do I throw it further away? Whatever the choice is becomes the line. The third pitch becomes the triangle. The fourth pitch becomes the box. Okay? We're going to win evens as much as we possibly can. We already talked about the psychology of the count, right? The psychology of the count, you could see it on that tree plain as day. So as a pitcher, I want to win 0-0, I want to win 1-1, and I want to win that payoff pitch 3-2. It's going to be pretty important for me to do that. Okay? I want to know what my when in doubts are, and I need to know what my stuff is today. Right? It's going to be different every day. You're going to come out some days and it's going to be all there. You're going to come out other days it's not. I have to figure out fairly quickly what I have, and then I have to make my adjustments. That goes back to this second to last one. Give us 5 with a chance for 6+. As a starting pitcher, you don't have it that day. You barrel through 5. You keep it close. Great. Right? You did your job. It wasn't your day. No problem. We're going to put it to our relievers. Hopefully, we've put it in a position where our offense can come back, and maybe we win the game later in the game. And then there's always a fight for 27 outs. Fight for 27 outs, really simple. Right? Yes, it's the pitches I throw, it's the defense I play, but it's the PFPs, it's the running game stuff that if I'm not paying attention to, that guy gets to second base, easier for him to score. Tools for the hitter. I spent some time with Alan Zenter this past winter. I thought it was really cool. He had a really cool idea in terms of timing. Be on time with the pitcher's rear end and his arm. Okay, so we're doing a lot of different hang moves and quick moves and all that kind of stuff. So our first window of timing has to be when the rear end comes down the plate. The second window of timing is that hand. Okay, we're going to win evens just like the pitchers did. Okay, if we're good enough to spoil pitches, that's going to increase pitch count. That gets him out an inning earlier or 2 innings earlier. In some case, that puts us in a position where we got a bullpen and we're pretty good. Passing the baton, if we have a superior mindset, we have superior knowing ourselves, we pass the baton. It's the only way for our offense to become 9 versus 1, and we're going to fight like heck to not make 27 outs. All right, so it's about unraveling how to compete better, knowing ourselves better, knowing our opponent better, and then putting that at the tip of the spear, and that's being able to do the dance with the hitter or the pitcher. That's all I got time for. Thank you very much. Have a good day.